Starting now.
What's up, dude?
How's it going?
So we were kind of talking about monetizing your passion a little
Yes.
bit. I think that we've both. It's something that I'm more curious about now than ever because it's just something that I didn't really think about ever. Um,
Yeah. You always
yeah.
think that you have to go the traditional route with work, or at least I
Mhm.
was raised with that mindset. And then I feel like in the past handful of years, I've realized that that isn't necessarily true. And I think now that
Mhm.
everyone is like starting their own companies, everyone's an influencer now in some capacity. Like you can kind of make money however you want. You might not make a
Yeah.
lot of money, but you can make money in some way. I mean, anything's possible now. You could become a TikToker, you could become a writer, you could become whatever you want to be. And you could probably
Yeah.
find a way to monetize it because there's people interested in it, you know?
I think that I grew up um, with a different culture than you, like
Mm-hmm.
because I grew up in like the kind of idolizing the '90s and like the punk, like not the punk scene, but the indie music scene really influenced me.
Yeah.
And Modest Mouse, the Shins, Block Party. Those aren't really Block Party's not a good example, but Nirvana. That culture really influenced me, and the narrative was kind of you start in a basement or a garage and you
Yeah.
play in your garage and basically you make it by doing what you love or you make it by putting in the hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that that was my attitude for up until like recently, basically. And it's not that I don't think that that's true, but I think it takes a really long time. And also I do think that even if you are really good at what you do, good at what you do, it doesn't mean that people are going to follow you or buy your stuff or
Yeah.
anything like that. I'm pretty certain that there are plenty of very, very talented novelists and artists who, just were never discovered because they never really put their work out into the world.
For
And the
sure.
problem that I had, um, and that I still am very close to the person that had a problem with that, to that self that had a problem with that, is basically the idea of like selling yourself, selling your personality, having a social media presence in order to, you know, social media is a step two to get to three, which is what
Mm-hmm.
we all want, which is for people to read and love our work, hopefully.
Yeah. It's so interesting, like, how that's such an integral part to one's career now is their presence online. Like, you don't catch me as someone that would post online if you weren't trying to make a career as a writer or as an artist.
Mm-mm.
So it's
Yeah, I
what.
think the change from
Yeah.
that, I still do view it as like a step two,
Mm-hmm.
right? To sell my stuff. We're cutting in and out for some reason. Did you see that?
Yeah, it's just on our end though.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. Um, the change for me has been kind of selling myself, selling who I am, like as authentically as I could. And I think before I didn't really think that it was possible to be yourself and to sell yourself. For some reason, there's like that conflict between like making money and being
Mm-hmm.
who you are. And sort of I just don't think that the lines are that like far apart now. Like I think you can be who you are and make money off of who you are
Mm-hmm.
more so than I thought when I was younger.
Yeah. Well, it seems like you're having fun with it on your Instagram. Like you posted something the other day. I was cracking up. It was like you dancing or something in the living room.
Yeah.
And like you're just having fun with it, which is nice. Like I
Yeah.
feel
It
like,
helps to not
yeah,
look at the comments or anything. I don't pay
yeah,
attention to it.
yeah. I don't. I mean, I don't have the same following as you do, but I get that. Like the idea of like not looking at how many likes you have or this, that, and the other. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like as I embark on this new year and wanting to do a lot of new things with my career, I feel like I should probably take the social media thing more seriously because it does have an impact on your career in a lot of ways because it's how people find you, it's how people connect with you, it's how you do business now, kind of. That's how you make networking connections and stuff. And I feel like I've always looked at it as like this weird, vain thing to post on social media, like photos of yourself or your day. Like, what a vain thing to do to like think people would care about that. But people do. People do. People enjoy seeing those things. People like following to see what you're up to. I
Mm.
guess I just don't look at myself as that interesting to follow. I'm like, why would anyone enjoy this? You know?
Yeah, you said a
But
really interesting thing a long time ago, which was that when you make houses, you imagine someone cooler and
mm,
smarter than yourself in that house.
yeah,
And I really relate to that because I think I was watching a video of myself like for this YouTube video I've been making,
mm-hmm.
and I was like, and when I watch myself during my Destiny 2 videos and stuff, it's like if I could just take out myself from like the video, I would thoroughly enjoy this content. And then
Yeah,
I remind myself like, okay, I'm awesome.
yeah,
People don't feel that way about me,
mm-hmm.
but like my first instinct is that I'm like annoyed.
Well, you're with yourself all day, and you see
Yeah.
yourself again in a different medium. Of course, you're gonna be like, ugh. When I was doing child acting, I could never watch myself, like in like the things that I did. It was
Yeah.
so uncomfortable. Like
What?
I did an SNL skit like when they were doing digital shorts back in the day, and I'm now the thumbnail of the clip on YouTube. So anytime you search like SNL Peyton Manning, it's my little face on there, and I can't click on it. It's so awkward to watch and uncomfortable. It was fun to do, but it's uncomfortable.
I hear you.
Yeah.
What do you do? I mean, for me in the YouTube video,
Mm-hmm.
like I was watching it, I had a sense of like that I respected myself towards the end of the video because I felt like I was persuasive and knowledgeable, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I could laugh at myself. Like some parts of me are kind of silly and dumb, but I guess like how do you go on that adventure to like find yourself wonderful and awesome and like genius?
I think just taking leaps, being more daring, just always taking risks, I think has been helping with that. I feel like it's new to me because this isn't something I've always thought about or embarked on, but I think just being a little bit more crazy, but crazy genuine, because I think I am genuinely crazy in some ways, very normal in other ways. But I find my crazy side or my whimsical weird side a little bit more interesting than my normal side, and I feel like I that's fun to share with people. You know,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, take risks, do weird stuff, fuck your life up and then fix it. You know, that's fun.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah, I quit my corporate job, had no income, started my own company. I'm doing pretty well. Starting another company this year. It's fine. I'm okay. I
Mm-hmm.
survived. I took a wild risk, and now I am reaping the benefits.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how you do it. Fuck your
Yeah,
shit up. Yeah.
love
Have you
it.
ever fucked your shit up?
uh yeah, all the time. I was like smoking, I bought a pack of cigarettes this New Year's Eve, and now I'm like, oh, why the fuck did I do that?
Mm.
But it was fun because I realized that like purging myself through exercise and jogging, like it gives me that same, I guess I'm kind of like a masochist in some ways where it's like I was punishing myself through like hard exercise and it felt really enjoyable.
Yeah.
So it was like it in some ways that mistake motivated me to like enjoy and work harder in exercising and jogging.
Yeah. You can pull the mic a little bit closer too, so but yeah.
Alrighty.
I I I fuck with myself too like that. I'll put myself in weird positions where like I know that it's gonna benefit me somehow.
Yeah.
I do it in
Another way
different
that I
ways though.
fucked my shit up was I invested in crypto. Like that's like a dumb thing.
You
I
and
do
me
like a lot
both.
of
Yeah.
dumb things. Yeah. I do a lot of dumb things that are like
Yeah.
actually I secretly feel are really smart.
I
Like
like to think I'm smart. I'm a fucking idiot. Like, why did I invest
yeah.
in crypto? That was so
Yeah, but I
stupid.
actually think that's smart.
I'm sure it'll pay off. Like right now, it's just in a slump. Everything's in a slump right now. But
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a weird, risky thing to do. Invest in something so new like that that doesn't have a history of being so reliable or whatever. You know,
Yeah. I guess I
maybe.
kind of feel like my life is like brand new and everything that people say are like what people say if doesn't really make sense compared to like what I feel.
Hmm.
And like I think a lot of people including my wife say like listen to your trust fund advisors or go into stock portfolios. Like the conventions just really bore me.
Hmm.
And then in my own life, I find like taking risks and like enjoying, feeling
Well,
like I'm capable.
you like
Like
learning
it
though.
works out.
You
Yeah.
like learning, and we all learn from our mistakes, and you like making mistakes sometimes to learn.
But it's more than that. It's like doing it myself, like going on the adventure, like without knowing,
Yeah.
without listening to like other people. Like when I play a video game, I don't like to look at like what the internet is saying ha-
Mm-hmm.
about it.
Hmm.
Um, you know, it's more fun that way. But anyways, I um, yeah.
How, have you always been like a go your own way, or did you have to learn that or teach yourself how to like fend for yourself and figure shit out on your own?
Um, I've always been a tactile learner, which basically means that I enjoy learning by doing rather
Yeah.
than like listening or like watching.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, uh, yeah, I don't know. I guess the topic today is monetizing our passions, right? And neither
Mm-hmm.
of us, well, you're doing a pretty good job at monetizing your design and architecture stuff. But for me, I kind of feel like 50 years old is like the point where you have some of that stuff like a lot more established. I think a lot of people get caught up in like thinking, like comparing yourself to random
Mm-hmm.
people in your age bracket.
Yeah.
But like the truth is, at least according to this book that I read, which is called, it's just basically talking about the different stages of life. And he said that when you're 50 years old, like in your career, you feel very like settled and confident.
Hmm.
I think that's true across like not just the arts.
I'm impatient though. I want it now. Like I get so caught up. Like I know that that's the reality of it. I've heard that too, but I want it now. Like I have the mindset that like if I'm not at the peak in my early 30s, then something's wrong. I don't know why I
Yes,
think that. Maybe it's because I compare, or like I see like I don't know all these young tech like millionaires and stuff. It's like, wow, they created these empires or they created these products and they did so well. Like
Your
they reached
sound
the
is cutting
peak.
in and out. Is that going to be in the episode?
It shouldn't be. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay. No, but we should be good on our end.
Alrighty.
Yeah. But I compare a
Yeah.
little bit. It's hard
Comparing's
not to.
dumb.
Yeah.
I don't know. You just don't do it. Or you just, whenever I do it, I just go compare. Then I'm aware that, but that's not good to just tell you not to do something. But there's no point. There's no point in comparing. And then it's like it's all external values, right? Like it's
Mm-hmm.
not. It's kind of we're still hopefully getting enjoyment through the process.
Curious about you, like what you could. Your family has a massive business. How come you didn't go that route? And how come you kind of went to become a writer and pursue your passions instead of get sucked into the family company?
Um, I'm not sure. I mean, I just care about people. Uh, I like the arts. I've always liked
Mm-hmm.
learning, and it's like if when I was curious, I was more interested in like whatever tugged my curiosity. I wasn't interested in like um, the family business, and that was
Mm-hmm.
like a big transition. I think from when I was undiagnosed with ADD and I was a lot less mature. I would tell my friends, and my mom would tell me, and my dad would tell me that I would own Playboy one day. That was like the narrative that I told myself and others, that, you know, one day I'd be CEO of Playboy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was kind of understood that that's like what would happen. Um, and then when I hated school. Like it didn't make sense. Like it was just kind of like this thing that it was like a king, and a king left his empire to his son, and it wasn't like based off of merit,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't based off of like anything that like mattered, like anything that's like meaningful. It just, that's not what it was. It was just simply, this is what would happen. And then when I was in 10th grade, I was like, man, I really suck at school. um, Life kind of sucks. And then I became just, something switched, like puberty or something, where I just became like really addicted to learning.
Mm-hmm.
I became really addicted to like doing well in class, learning the lessons that books had to teach me, learning the lessons that history had to teach me. And so I'd really say that like falling in love with, it's not going to sound cool, but like academics, like
Mm-hmm.
falling in love with history, falling in love with stuff like that took me away from business.
Yeah, that makes sense. I guess like a lot of outsiders would look at that as like, oh my god, you had this great setup for an amazing career, and you went in a different direction.
Yeah, it's almost
Yeah.
better that I, like, if you think about it on like, that's like the first layer, but if you think about it on the
Mm-hmm.
second layer, it's really like better, which is that I'm not working a 9 to 5 and I don't have to, and I
Yeah.
still have like a shit ton of money. Like really, that's like the next step that like I was talking about with my friend who's in a similar situation. Like he has an inheritance from his family. He's like, "Hey, I want to get good at investing, and like maybe this is it." And
Mm-hmm.
he's kind of wondering if like this is just good enough. Like, you know, he's wondering if doing yoga all day, or just doing yoga, keeping up with the financial, like just doing nothing basically. Like
That's the dream.
if that's, and
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, just fucking do it. Like enjoy it. And that's like, that's basically like my starting point, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
I can do whatever I want, like within reason. Like I can't own Playboy, right? I can't be the CEO of a Fortune 500 company. Just like I can't snap my fingers and make magic happen.
Mm-hmm.
But I start off with the baseline of like I never have to worry about money ever. And then like what happens, right? And for me, I'm like, I love competition. So I want to be really good. I want to be really good at something. That's like what makes me happy. So that's where writing comes in and
Mm-hmm.
video games. And secondly, I mean, this is even more important than number one, but they inform each other, which is that I want to be happy. And so, like, what makes a happy life? Like, I meditate, I exercise, I have a routine I love. I have a lot of time for rest and relaxation. Like, at the end of the night, I watch my comic book stuff, you know. So, that's like all of that's my starting point. And then, kind of like what we were talking about before, which is like the external values. Why aren't I X? Why don't I have X amount of followers? Why is nobody fucking watching this YouTube channel? Stuff like that. Where it's like, okay, just be patient.
Mm-hmm.
But the external values I've heard they're not very like the stuff that matters is this, like right now, rather than like
Mm-hmm.
and what we learn from it.
Hmm.
That's
Do you
what
ever
I've heard.
do you ever think about like, so you, it sounds like you really have your life right now really figured out, your routines, your motivations in life. Do you ever think about how it will evolve in the future and what your routines will be in the future? Like, do you ever set goals for yourself as to what that could be? Or is it kind of just go with the flow?
It's already evolving. Like
Mm-hmm.
my writing has just, yeah, in my opinion, my writing is just like on another level right now. And so I can see like what I could do 2 years ago is very different from what I can do now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's rewarding to see
Yeah.
that growth. And then the same is happening in Destiny 2 or video games. So it's
How about
always
in life though?
changing.
Just like your day to day soul life. How has that evolved with? Because since your
It gets
inheritance,
better and better
like,
over and over. Like every month, it gets better and better.
yeah.
Sometimes there's like a depression. It's like
Mm-hmm.
3 months of figuring, what's going on here. Why am I upset? Thinking. Always gets better though.
Do you ever feel like this sense of like, well, I don't know if you could feel it because you're very busy writing, but do you ever feel like, what am I doing? Like,
Yeah, I
do you
think
feel like
about
you have? Yeah, go ahead.
with the external values. I think about that.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I see like my Destiny 2 YouTube channel has like 17 views. Last year it had 32 views. It's
Mm-hmm.
like bummer.
Mm, that's interesting. The views, so the views seem to be a pattern. You want
It's
eyes on your
external.
stuff. You want eyes on your stuff. Everyone wants
Like,
eyes on their stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's, I get the idea of wanting eyes on your stuff. I'm lucky I do have like an outlet for some like creative video stuff that
Mm-hmm.
does get pretty good traction.
Mm-hmm.
Not the podcast, but another YouTube channel that I do,
The other one.
and
Yeah.
and it's nice. There's a nice feeling knowing that you can upload something, you refresh the page, and there's 15, 20 comments already. Like
Mm-hmm.
that, there's a beautiful feeling to having reactions happen immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And you get a little spoiled, but I only have it in that one segment on this little YouTube channel that I do. And I don't have it anywhere else, though. And I want it everywhere else. And I'm not getting it everywhere else. And it's this weird feeling of like, what did I do over there that works so well that's not working over here? And it's
Yeah.
just,
And it's
you have
like,
to kind
why
of
don't I get?
relearn.
Yeah.
It's so tricky. Do you ever feel that way at all?
Um. Yeah. It's like, why am I not? Why am I not like at 100,000 views? I'm seeing
Mm-hmm.
this guy do it, and he's smart, and I'm smart. What about me? Sort of feeling.
Yeah. How is there? I don't know if I don't know if there's a magic to it or not. I think you just have to be like a little bit. It seems like the more provocative you are, the more clicks you get.
Yeah,
in
there's
whatever
definitely
capacity,
formulas.
whether it be news,
Yeah.
whether it be, just social media personality. Like if you're provocative and you're saying wild shit, you're gonna blow up. You have like people like Trisha Paytas, Ethan Klein, like H3H, like these popular like YouTube people that are they just they're provocative and people
Yeah.
click on it because it's sexy and it's scary and it's edgy.
Yeah, but
That seems like
that feeling like that's the truth, then you forget that there's others that don't do that, and
who
they
we don't hear
Rogan,
about them. Yeah, but he has people on
Alex
that
Friedman.
his guests though and Lex's guests sometimes they're provocative people. So Joe doesn't need to be provocative, but his guests might be.
Daniel Trussell.
Kanye, whatever.
Well, he has interesting people on. I don't think that means that they're provocative.
Provocative in the sense that they're saying things that aren't in line with the status quo. Like he's had a lot of people on that like would not be allowed on mainstream media. We'll put it that way. Like would they really do a sit down with Kanye at this point? No. Lex did. And it was very interesting interview. But it's provocative and that got him a whole new audience that didn't even exist before after he sat down with Kanye, you know? It seems like you just have to kind of poke the fire to get attention, which is a sick thing. It's horrible that that's the case because you're poking a fire that keeps growing. What's going to happen? It's going to engulf everyone. Kanye's the
I hear you.
best at it, though. He's the ultimate provocateur. Better than anyone. He went from rap artist to running to president to Nazi. It's like he's jumping around. And then this year he's going to be something else. Also, Happy New Year to everyone. But yeah, this year
Yeah,
he's going to be
Happy New
something
Year.
else. So it seems like you have to be kind of crazy to like really make it, like or really get attention, or really get clicks, really get views. What does that say about us? That's pretty fucked up. I hate that. Because then what does Marston do? He has such great writing, such great ideas, such great things, but he's not going to poke the fire. You know?
I poked the fire.
Do you?
Yeah. Let's read my book.
Your book definitely poked the fire. I'm talking about social media presence, I guess.
Yeah.
You don't poke the fire there. You do your dances, which is like fire dancing, but yeah. But how
I
much
hear
do you
you.
really want that? How much do you really want to have the views and all that attention? People are crazy.
People are crazy. I want it. I want people to like me, I think, on a certain level. Um, but really, what I want is like merit based views. Like,
Mm-hmm.
but how bad do I want it? I don't really care if people watch me. I care if people read my book.
Yeah.
I care if people watch my like content.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Do you ever think about how you could improve that?
Yeah.
And like, what do you ever like make a game plan? Like, all right, I got to do this, that, the other.
No, I don't believe in game plans. I think they're counterproductive.
So what do you do?
It reminds me of like this guy named Alan Shore, who is a very famous neuroscientist slash psychologist, and it's basically the idea that the right brain like doesn't make rules, the left brain makes rules, and like the left brain is like fucking dumb
Hmm.
sometimes, and it's like a lot less effective than the right brain. Ideally, they both work together, but like whenever I play video games or I'm trying to like solve a riddle, I try not to like come up with like, okay, this thing will solve this riddle every time, because it's like a surefire way of just like really living a dull life.
Hmm.
Like it might work, but it's going to stop flexibility. It's going to stop creativity. It's going to stop like in the moment. If something calls for something else, like you're
Yeah.
not going to be able to really change.
Mm.
So I really enjoy just like not making rules like that and seeing what happens. And then like you
Yeah.
can dance. But like I still notice it. I still notice some stuff like just the idea that quality, you can have like a really quality product, give really good information to people on like comic books. I watch this guy and he has like 6,000 subscribers, but he's
Hmm.
clearly like the most knowledgeable guy like to watch. And he's kind of become a cult classic, right? So it's like, it's
Yeah.
too early to say that this guy won't be remembered the longest or something
Mm.
like that. But then you have like the people who prefer to clickbait or put like, you know, that big $10,000 on their, like you see the money signs on
Right.
their you get what I'm saying.
Hmm.
And they have like twice as many views, more than twice as many views, and more subscribers. And so it doesn't interest me, but I do notice people following. You can follow a formula and become very successful, but I think the problem with thinking that way is that then it takes away from the people who aren't following a formula and are successful as well.
Mm.
Like Brazil soccer team, they're always dancing. They're like artists.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, I find I do like making plans and making detailed things, but I never actually follow them. I notice like I'll make them and then in the act I'm doing the complete opposite. I'm just defying all my own rules that I make.
Yeah. And then to counter that, I do make all that I do for my writing is I make rules.
Mm.
Like, okay, I purposely read things I don't like, and then I come across, and then I ask myself, why don't I like this? Sometimes the answer is I don't know, but I ask myself, why don't I like this? Try to find the reason, and then I find a, a way to solve that puzzle in my own writing.
So can you
So,
explain like how so you're writing a pretty big story right now. How
mhm,
like and it's a fantasy story. How do you even get into like do you if I were to do it I would make like a big spreadsheet, like a Google spreadsheet of all the characters and then
mhm,
I would start like defining them
mhm.
and just doing like a family tree. Like do you do stuff like that when you're creating a this big fantasy story?
No,
No.
I create like family trees and stuff. Yeah, those
Mhm.
that's the fun part. That's very visual,
Yeah.
and visual is right brain stuff.
Mhm. Mm.
Left brain is language. Um,
But how
but
do you
we were
even
talking
start?
about kind
Like
of monetizing our
well, I think
passions,
it
right?
ties into this cuz
Okay.
you're going to eventually sell this book, I assume.
Yeah.
So, how do you even start something so daunting like or it's daunting to me at least, a big fantasy story?
It's my career. So you kind of just do it. But it's not daunting after you do it for like a decade,
Right.
you know? And it wasn't daunting even in the beginning. Like when I first started off, I did like a sniper. I literally just watched the Army channel and then like whatever stories I learned, then I would put it in my book. And it was like the most atrocious,
Mhm.
grotesque, like 90,000, just huge book about being a sniper with a friend and the adventures that I got up to. And that was like, you know, my opinion is like anybody can write 90,000 words. You just go to the typewriter and go, I really like sniping. I joined the army. Joining the army, but what you're talking about is like writing something well. And that takes a long time, I think.
And how do you check yourself to make sure that obviously you naturally have a gift, but how do you always check yourself that like you're staying on track with quality and consistency?
Sometimes I send it to a friend, see if he likes it. ask him what he doesn't like, so then I can learn from that.
Mm-hmm.
But like one, um, I don't know, it's just like a feeling thing too. Maybe like when you read something, you know it's good, and when you read something bad, you know it's bad. And it
Mm-hmm.
takes a while to like have that kind of distance from your work where you can see it as if it's a different person writing it or something like that. But one way to do it is like, does it follow the rules that you're using? I know I'm like totally contradicting myself, but it's just the way that it is. Like, um, if I'm doing something that in my, you know, laws of good writing, it does that thing, then I go, okay, the reader will enjoy that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you're always consciously thinking of the reader, or are you
Yeah.
ever selfish and just you're doing your own thing?
Well, I am the reader. So I'm thinking I would enjoy this as a reader.
Right. I guess more I'm thinking the masses. Or do you think of like if a random person that I don't know would read this? Like do you think of them or not so much?
I really do not. Uh,
Because there's always that mindset of like if you create art that you enjoy, other people enjoy it too.
that's the
Which is
idea. Yeah.
when I remember hearing that when I was younger, and it always resonated with me because I think my best work that I made was the work that I was so passionate about, where it really
What a
tied into
wonderful
me.
gift.
Yeah. I'm so glad
Yeah.
whoever said that to me when I was younger said it because I've always repeated that mantra in my head, and it definitely applies to anything, even if you're not creating art. If you're just creating your own business or being self-sufficient, it applies there too. Like when I quit my job and I started my own design visualization firm, um, I applied that same mindset to that.
Yeah.
Where like love what you're creating, and someone's gonna like it, and it's paid off.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you
It's
know.
awesome.
So I think that can apply to everything, and kind of tying back to the being self-sufficient, making your own money in your own way.
Mm-hmm.
I always think how cool it is that like your form of making money is like literally just grabbing stuff from up here and putting it onto paper. And very literally because it's words. It's like thoughts are running in your head and then you can make money off of that. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
With me, I have to train myself to learn certain tools on the computer. I have to teach myself certain techniques of art or whatever. There's like a lot of teaching you have to do before I could even make money. But for you, you make money just by spitting onto paper in a beautiful way.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That is
That's
so
what
cool.
initially brought me to writing.
Is it
That's why I
like,
went to writing for that reason.
do you
Because
make
for
good money as
drawing,
a
you had
writer
to
though?
learn to draw, right? Like if you had to, yeah, it wasn't about having to learn to draw, but you have to buy a canvas
Yeah, there's a lot you
or
have to do. Yeah, a lot of
yeah,
setup. Where with
mm-hmm. A lot of
writing,
setup, no setting with setup with writing.
yeah, no setup. Is writing as a career as um, going into it? Did you have expectations of the kind of money you'd make or what it would be like, and have you matched that, or has it been um, different?
Yeah, totally different. I had an idea that I would be like very famous at this point in my life, and I had the idea that a lot of people would buy my book, um, and it's like a lot better than I thought it would be because I really enjoy doing it. Like the difference is that I viewed writing in my early 20s as a monotonous chore that you did over and over again and got better at. And sometimes you found a really wonderful story in the middle of like a bunch of crappy stories.
Mm-hmm.
And now that I write, I don't have the same reach that I would like to have. Uh, but it's like it's just very fulfilling and like spiritually fulfilling, meaningful. It's a part
Mm-hmm.
of like why I'm so happy. Um, and that I know will increase, and that can be my sign of success. You know, it doesn't have to be the external, which is what matters to me. I can say, okay, mastery is my sign of success, and I'm getting better and better. And little asterisk, I do think when I'm like 50 years old, more people will read my work, because more people read my work now than they did when I
Mm-hmm.
was 20 years old. So I think that
Precisely.
trend will continue.
Yeah, that's a fun thing to look forward to too. Like
Hmm.
you and I think both feel confident in that as our worlds continue, it'll become more successful by the year at
Hmm.
whatever percentage. And it's
Yeah.
always nice to have that reassurance in the back of your mind, because I feel like if I didn't have that, I wouldn't have done anything.
Hmm.
Unfortunately there's a lot of people that don't feel that way, where they don't feel like the future is bright for their
Yeah.
career or for their passions. That's
Hmm.
a shame. I think if you kind of going back to, if you do what you love, people will come, support you or whatever.
Hmm.
If you do that at full capacity and you put your whole body into it, of course you're going to get results.
Well said.
Of course. How couldn't you? People recognize when people put their whole body into something. People recognize that because we see how hard people work for certain projects and for certain pieces. We notice those things, and we reward people that do that because we recognize how difficult it is.
Yeah. I think also like we're talking, the topic is monetizing your passion, and there are ways to do it with what you love, but there's the understanding that I've come to, which is like I can love just being more flexible. Like writing, I don't expect to, and nor is it reasonable to think that my work is going to be like Tom Clancy's or sell that much, because
Mm-hmm.
what the demand is for the work that I do for avant-garde stuff is like the demand is much lower than something for like a thriller, a
Yeah.
Tom Clancy thriller. And so it's like, okay, if my goal is to make money, or if my goal is to have an audience, but let's talk about making money specifically. It's like
Mm-hmm.
being passionate. What am I passionate about that's like actually reasonable to make money off of? And that would be comics or crypto,
Mm-hmm.
or what, there's a ton of stuff that people are interested in that's not like um that's more, I don't want to say realistic, but it's like more reasonable. Sound like a boomer, but like I really got interested in making money, and so I switched over to learning about comic book investing. Um, and like I really am excited about making money in that field because that was its purpose. For me, writing is like, yeah, realistically, like if you're in touch with the world doing avant-garde writing, it's possible to be. I don't even know any avant-garde writers actually that make like a shit ton of money. It just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Maybe I could be the first one, but like I guess what I like now is kind of being realistic or being reasonable, getting in touch with the river, the stream, wherever it's taking you, and you know, yeah,
So do you think you've recognized those very things, and now you're saying, okay, my avant-garde writing is, it's been established, I published something.
yeah,
And now you're thinking to the next thing to be more realistic.
no,
No. You're not thinking I'm
mm-mm.
going to do fantasy now to garner a different audience, or
Maybe unconsciously. It's interesting. I never
because it's
thought
a good
about
way.
that.
I mean, I
Yeah,
think you have this idea that it's like that's a good thing to do. It's a smart, wise thing to do.
mm.
You published your soul in your book, high
Mm-hmm.
school romance. You could buy it, link in description.
Mm-hmm.
And you dispose your soul into that book. That's out there in the ethos now. That will always be there. And now it's your turn to create a beautiful, realistic fantasy story. It almost seems like it's this beautiful pathway of going from a college writer to publishing your first book, doing all your writing before that too. But it's like your timeline makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Like, of course, someone that's going to write a
you're
great
right.
fantasy story would write an avant-garde piece before. Of course, that makes complete sense in this timeline.
Yeah, I see that.
You
That's
might
fun.
not. You might not. You know, think about it so literally like I would.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always thinking about my timeline, but your timeline is making sense. You're on the right track. You're doing the right things,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I think you're heading on the right track with that. And I think if everyone can always think about their timeline,
Yeah.
especially if you're trying to build something, think where was I 10 years ago? Where am I today? That's my timeline so far. The trajectory is going to keep going up. If you keep, your work ethic, at the same pace, it's going to go up naturally. So
I think it's a
always think
beautiful
about
way to
that.
put about think about your timeline, and I would add think about your timeline as it is in the world and not how you have been taught
Yeah.
that it is or that it should be, because I think that we're taught that we should be at a certain place right now, and my friend who's a lawyer doesn't feel like he's there, and my friends who are artists don't feel like they're there.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the values that we're taught, which is like this external stuff, is a lot less important, because that's not who's going to hug you at the end of the night. And that's not where, 500 views or 500 readers isn't going to make you love the work, the process. I agree that it is, I still am motivated by external values, no doubt, but like coming up with your own timeline and coming up with your own values is for sure like the road to happiness, because what we're kind of taught is just a lot of comparing and nonsense.
Yeah. Yeah. But so, someone getting beat up back there?
Yeah, Anna, we're doing a podcast, hon.
We're
I know,
live.
but you've been doing it for over an hour. I need to put the groceries away.
Oh, she needs to put the groceries away.
I mean, you told me to leave you alone, and I did, but I can't sit here for the whole night.
Right, but I told you that we were going to be there for an hour from 6 to 7.
No, you said 5:45.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, sometimes she gets really upset.
I'm putting the groceries away.
Can we edit this part out?
I feel like you should.
Or we don't have to. It's kind of, it's funny to leave it in.
This is a
This is real
beautiful
shit.
interaction between Marston and Anna.
Oh, I was sitting there for 20 minutes waiting. I don't think I did anything wrong.
All your
You also
refrigerated
threw
food
away
has
the
gone
dinner I was
hot.
going to eat tonight. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm really irritated.
Yeah, she's upset.
Oh. Well, should we do the right thing and just
See,
end
this
it?
is why I like this. Well, yeah, but I like this because we don't really see this in other podcasts, which means that this is like a unique
A
interaction.
rare moment.
Yeah,
I could get my girlfriend in here to yell at
You
me.
threw out my dinner. I
yeah,
had food in there that I was going to eat.
yeah. Okay. I hear you're upset.
Well, you have to buy me new food then.
Okay. I'll buy you new food, honey.
You don't want to. You don't like me. I'm just a little upset. Yeah, that was going to be my dinner tonight. And it was money. It cost me money. And now it's all gone.
Oh, I'm sorry, hon.
Well, I don't think you are.
Okay. Can we talk about this when the podcast is over?
No. I'm done. I don't want to talk to you.
Okay.
Just totally, don't pay attention to anything.
So, do you want to keep, I guess, what do you want to
It
do?
sounds like we should probably end here, right?
All right.
I think.
Yes.
Well, hey, listen. Shit happens. I feel like we talked about a lot of great things. We ended on a interesting note, off pitch, but still beautiful. And we will see you guys next Wednesday. We're doing Wednesdays now, so every Wednesday morning we'll be
Yes.
releasing the new episode. This
And
will be
and
the
one day,
normal release.
maybe we'll bring on our ladies, our
Yeah.
wives and girlfriends.
Yeah, we could talk about the stuff that grinds our gears. That'd be
Yeah.
fun. Yeah. We learned a little bit tonight.
Yeah, it definitely went off the beaten track, which is like
Yeah.
probably a good sign in the sense that like I had a label in my head of what I wanted to talk about, and then it just did a different thing.
That's okay.
I went with it.
It was fun to experience
Yeah,
for me.
I agreed. Same, likewise.
All right, guys. We'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.